Welcome to Dubs Talk Live. I'm Zena, Keita, joined by the Warriors Authority, Monte, Poole. Get used to it. That's what you are. That's what you are.
No, if you say so.
Well, we need your authority.
I try.
We need your authority tonight because we got some things to talk about, folks. Get comfortable. Tonight, the Warriors lost on the second game of a back-to-back against the Atlanta Hawks at the Hawks Arena. 141-134. Overtime. This is now the fourth overtime game they've lost this year. They're 1 of 4 overall. And again, another game lost in the back-to-backs of, they've had the most amount of back-to-backs out of all the NBA teams. And now you're looking at the fact that their 2-win game streak that they had going, they were excited about, finished. They also drop, again, below 500 and less games to be able to get themselves into the play-in. So now, Monte, let's just start there. When you look at the Warriors season and you're looking outward, you've lost this game on the road. You're dropping further and further below, 4 games now below 500. You are still out of the play-in. You have an injury to a key defensive player, Andrew Wiggins. We'll get into that. What can the Warriors be excited about or optimistic about moving forward?
At this moment, there isn't a whole lot. Obviously, Steph Curry played a magnificent game, and we've seen that before, and we've seen him play at an exquisite level, and yet it's not enough to get the victory. This team right now, it seems like every time they find something that gives them a reason to start believing, okay, we can pull out of this mess, something else happens. And Wiggins, they say it's a foot injury, and there's no prognosis, but usually when you hear foot injury, it doesn't get better in a day or two. And so that's got to be a bleak point because they had just found that lineup. And Wiggins was starting to show signs of coming out of his thing. Kuminga didn't have a great night, but at the same time, he fouled out when he could have really been used. So when you knew, I think you knew when Wiggins wasn't there and then Kuminga fouls out that this team was in trouble, Steph got him into the overtime, and they had nothing left. So both teams were coming off a back-to-back, but the Warriors had to travel for their back-to-back. The Hawks were still at home. So, like Draymond said after the game, both teams were, everybody's fatigued down the stretch of a back-to-back set. And Steph somehow kept going. He had 41 after halftime. After halftime, 41 points.
Shot more threes tonight than he did last night. Which is crazy to find leg energy. But let's talk about Steph. Because when you think about the one thing that I would say you're still optimistic about is you cannot count Steph out. That's our BMW Ultimate Performer of the game. 60-point game, 3-level scorer, and then particularly in that fourth quarter, being able to sustain his team single-handedly. What do you make of his game?
Wasn't getting much help, I mean, Clay tonight was just abysmal. 4 of 19 shooting. I mean, and a lot of his shots didn't even look good. I mean, he threw up some bricks tonight, and some of his shot selection was like, what are you doing here? And J.K., like I said, he wasn't at his game the way he's been playing lately. He fell off his game a little bit. So, Wiggins hadn't done a whole lot, but he was playing good defense before he, left the game. So, and Draymond, was playing okay, but not great. He's playing okay, When you see a game like this and you see Steph trying to do so much because his teammates aren't giving him quite the support, and to think they came this close to winning a game. If they make one more shot, if Clay goes 5 of 19 instead of 4 of 19, they probably win the game because they didn't have a 2-point edge, or a 3-point edge. So it's just, when you look at what this team has gone through over the course of this year, it just seems like there's one thing after another. One thing after another. Somebody gets hurt.
They can't catch a break.
Before this game even started, they were already down 3 rotation players. No Chris Paul, no Dario Saric, no Gary Payton II. So you're looking at a team that's trying to fight through that, which, all teams have some injuries. But when you've dealt with so much, whether it's injuries or suspensions or, good Lord, I mean, they lost a coach. And so it's like this season just keeps piling up. Steve Kerr tonight came out and he spoke for less than a minute, which is the first time I think that's happened this year. And, there has to be a level of emotional and mental fatigue that comes with all this stuff. All these close games, the most in the league, and losing most of them. When you win a close game, you get that little bump. But when you keep losing those close games, it's like, whew. And so
It takes stuff out of you.
yes.
Yeah.
So they're dealing with all this stuff right now, and I think it's starting to show because they felt really good yesterday, and they felt good going out of town. And now tonight this happens. It's like, here we go again.
And just to wrap on Steph and that performance as well, I know that Brandon Pajemski said in the postgame, Steph doesn't get that superstar whistle. And we're not in the league, so we're not going to get fined. Thoughts?
It's true.
Yeah.
No, he gets beat up pretty good. And, the thing is, I know the Warriors have in the past, and maybe they need to do it again if they haven't done it. I'm not aware that they've done it this year, but in the past, they have sent clips to league office.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
to let them know, this is what we're seeing, this is what's happening. And if I were them, I would barrage the league office just to let them know this is happening.
Right.
And this guy is one of the faces of the league, and usually there is a superstar whistle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's not getting it.
I mean, this guy, I think does he qualify as superstar? I would say yes.
Perhaps.
I mean, his jersey is the #1 seller in the league.
Right.
So these things, I mean, in the NBA, it's all about marketing and promotions and image and all these things, and he's exactly what the NBA wants. And the ability for, I don't want to say protect him, but just to give him the whistle that maybe he deserves is just rare.
Yeah.
And, so many games when, and it's not like Steph is out there launching threes all night. He'll go into the paint.
He had 23 shots outside, so yes.
Yes.
But also 15 inside.
There you go. He goes into the paint. He tries a floater. He does all this stuff, and he gets banged around. And tonight, he just didn't. You don't get as much of a whistle as you should for what he's been into this league.
Well, one thing about Steph's game is that it is absolutely entertaining. And then this matchup is particularly popcorn for basketball fans because there is something about Trey Young versus Steph Curry that is always theater.
Yeah.
So you look at this breakdown. They've played 5 times against each other in their careers. Just 5. You would think it's been more.
Yep.
But Steph is not in the winning column against Trey Young.
Yeah.
He is now, they were evened out, but tonight, now Trey Young taking that lead. But look at the way that Steph particularly plays against the Hawks. 41 points. 41 points. There's something in the water when he goes to Atlanta or plays against Atlanta.
Well, part of it is that the Hawks are not known for their defense.
That part too.
Yeah, they're not known for defense, and Trey is definitely not known for defense. So this is one of the games. I mean, when this road trip started, we said, okay, it's a 5-game trip with 2 back-to-backs. If they can win 3 of the 5 games, it's a successful trip. This game was right there to be had. And this was a game that could have been a tipping point game where if they win this game, now you only have to win 1 of the next 3. If you win 2, you really got something.
Right.
So that's why this is going to sting too, is that they knew they were that close to winning the game. You got to overtime. And when overtime started, you could see which team still had a little bit more juice.
Yeah.
So.
It's also a bummer to squander a 60-point performance from Steph. I do want to bring back that tweet in the sense of only 2 35 and older players have been able to have 60-point games. Kobe. Steph.
Yeah.
Steph did it in 12 less shots. He's at the podium. Let's see what he had to say about tonight's game.
Steph obviously got the results in which you wanted tonight, but still had a moment to make NBA history. You've tied Kobe Bryant as the second player to score 60 points over the age of 35. I don't want to date you or anything like that. Second game of a back-to-back. What type of zone were you in tonight? Trying to get your team this victory and having such a phenomenal performance.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. That was his last game?
Yep.
That's special. Granted, we lost. It's just one of those things you kind of feel as you go, knowing we're on a back-to-back, coming in late, trying to do whatever you can to keep our team in it, just make shots, take what the defense gives you, force the issue if you feel it. I think in that fourth quarter, we were very decisive on just trying to get me, good looks, creating some confusion. Thankfully, a bunch of them went in. I wish that last one would have went down and had a good look at it. But it's frustrating, obviously, not coming away with the win, knowing a couple plays here, a couple plays there. It's a different outcome, and we're celebrating an individual performance like that, but just adds to the frustration of our season.
Steph, you had another 20-point quarter. That's up to 45 now, the most in NBA history. How do you determine when to just take over and then when to facilitate?
There's a kind of a subconscious feel of the game, knowing you can be more aggressive to get to your spots, and you might not see as much resistance. And it's just a matter if you make or miss. The rest of it's just feeling the flow of the game. And I think at a certain point, when you hit a couple and you get good looks at the rim, you're gonna kind of come back to those with the mindset of being aggressive to score. And there are certain games, we didn't have much going. Lester played well, shot the ball well, but from three, like we were struggling a little bit as a team. So there is a certain point when you see the score, see the fourth quarter, like let's go.
Steph, 2 questions. What does it mean to you when you come out on an opposing field and see fans start to turn and actually cheer for you as you do what you do? And second of all, how has your faith in the Lord Jesus Christ helped you as you navigate through a tremendous career, being a dad, being a parent, and also now moving into PGA golf as well?
My faith, it guides me in everything. It's not really a result on what happens on the court. I'm just blessed to have this stage to shine a light and hopefully be some type of inspiration to anybody that watches me, knowing I've been given some amazing gifts and trying to use them to the best of my ability, whatever I do. And then to your point about being in an opposing arena and having the turnout that we do and the support, it's easy to find energy, with that type of response. And I never take any of that for granted, knowing, the ball will stop bouncing at some point. And this is definitely special, something that, the ultimate gratitude every time I get to step foot on the floor.
Does it feel like it was wasted tonight, what you did in some ways? Is that too strong a way to put it? Or?
You can describe it however you want. Any game that you have, like even way back when I first had 54 in the Garden, we lost. That's the only feeling that you really worry about. Obviously, it's a fun ride when you're shooting the ball the way that you are and trying to get to the finish line and, like I said, have a W to show for it. If that last runner goes in, it's a different story. But it sucks to not have something to show for it, especially the way we all fought, given everything we had in the tank. With the back-to-back and everything that we went through.
Bigger picture, where are you at right now with like where you guys are?
It's tough because you look out. We've had so many guys out. It's kind of a revolving door. Wiggs goes out at halftime. J.K. fouls out fourth quarter. I think at one point it's really cool to see a different look. I was out there with Trace, Lester, Gee, and Brandon Bajemski. Like, if those guys are taking steps and building confidence, I'm pretty sure if anybody asked, would you be out there with those 4 guys at some point in the regular season, you probably would have said no. But we still had a chance to win. Like, that's the challenge of this year. It was an entirely different 5-man unit that we'd never seen, all season. So you're trying to adapt and allow that youthful energy to help us, try to get over the hump. So it's been the nature of our season all year. What it was supposed to look like hasn't really materialized for consistent stretches. But again, you can only be in the present. That's the challenge that we have to make this season salvageable. We're still 4 games under 500. I'm still motivated. Just gotta, stick with it.
You had
Monte, it was like you were in his head. You were saying the exact same thing that he's saying. It's been a revolving door, and that's what has contributed to this season not looking like they anticipated.
Yeah, and the frustration level, it's one thing to go through a rough week or 2 or 3, but they've gone through a pretty rough season.
Right.
And so when you look at the number of games that they've lost to players, again, who are injured or suspended, and the injuries and various other things that have happened to the team, it's hard to get over that and just think that, okay, things are going to be great because, they haven't had a great spell of more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You've had a good 5 or 6 or 7 games. and that's the most. And then there's something else that happened. So they won 2 in a row before tonight, and they hadn't done that in almost 5 weeks. So actually more than 5 weeks. So it had been, this was thought they were going to be on to something.
Yeah.
And there's reason to think that because with this lineup, you like it, Draymond and Steph and Clay and Wiggins and Kuminga. Okay, you can do something with this. But tonight, you didn't see that lineup at the end of the game because one guy fouled out and one guy wasn't there after the second half.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about one of those new people going through that revolving door, as Steph talked about on the other side of this break. I do want to say, Steph is still motivated.
Oh, yeah. He's always in the
That's always a great thing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't count him out.
He's your leader.
And one of the reasons he's motivated, that guy right there, taking it to the basket. Don't go anywhere. Steph Talk Live.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Visit us during our President's Day sale. Save up to $1,000 on the biggest brands, plus free delivery. Hurry in now or visit us online at sleepworld.com.
Hey, YouTube. We're just talking.
Yeah, we are.
shop,
We
You
are.
know,
Yeah.
looking at the box score. We're going to talk about BP, so let's keep that for then. But I'm just going to go through a little bit of the comments. There was one that had me cracking up, by the way. But yeah, so going through what a way to throw away a game and waste a Stephen Curry 60-point game by Rebel of the Sounds. There's a lot of comments I'm seeing on this JK foul. Reem admin, 2 weak fouls on JK, a shoulder tap, really. Awful officiating.
Yeah, the shoulder tap, and one of them, JK tapped him 3 times on the shoulder. And, when you look at that being called versus some of the things that happened that were not called, it's like, what are we doing here? It's not consistent. And all players really want is consistency.
Right.
Call it the same way for, and so you saw worse things happen in the course of that game
Right.
and didn't get called.
Right.
And so that's the hard part. And for a young guy like Kuminga, he's trying to find his way. He's got a tough assignment there in Trey. And so, he's trying to be as close as he can. Yeah, I thought a couple of foul calls on JK were a little questionable.
Questionable.
But it's been known to happen, and that's, again, Trey is going to get that whistle that, a lot of guys don't get. So,
John Wynn said, Warriors need a second option, and it's not Klay Thompson.
it's been Kuminga lately.
It's been Kuminga lately.
Yeah,
it's
tonight
Kuminga.
he was just okay. He wasn't, he didn't.
He had some shots that were questionable.
Yeah.
And he was shooting short. He was hitting the front of the rim a lot.
He had
Wasn't
4
great.
turnovers.
4 turnovers.
He started doing that dribble thing in the crowd, and like, don't dribble in the crowd, JK. You do that, that's when you get in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
The one thing I wanted to say, Latham Kirk saying that coaches are dog water. I don't know where you came up with that term, but I love it. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live, presented by Mancini's Sleep World. Warriors went down against the Hawks, but someone else went down, and that was Andrew Wiggins. Very unfortunate ankle injury in the early part of the game, particularly in that first half. He came down trying to battle the bigs, which were a problem all night. Came down hard on that ankle, that left foot, and left the game.
yeah.
The second he left the game, driving lanes opened wide up for the Atlanta Hawks. The game difference between what Trey Young was able to do in the first half versus the final second half, completely different team, including DeJounte Murray.
Yes.
Just being able to attack the basket at will, that long length of and athleticism from Wiggins, not on the other side of the floor.
Yeah, Wiggins started the game on Trey.
Yeah.
His length and his athleticism. And Trey didn't really do a whole lot. He got a few shots here and there, but he didn't really hurt the Warriors that much. But when you lose Wiggins, and like Draymond said after the game, both Wiggs and JK, those are our 2 best point of attack defenders right now.
Right.
You don't have Gary Payton out there. So those are the 2 guys you really need at the point of attack. And when they both are out of the game and the game goes into overtime and it's on the second night of a back-to-back, it's like, oh boy, here we go. And
Who do you turn to?
I would have been just astonished had they found a way to win this game in overtime, because once it went to OT, I'm like, I think they're done now, because they just don't have the juice and they just lost those two guys. You lost Wiggins earlier, and you lost Kuminga late in the fourth quarter regulation.
It's a great point because in that fourth quarter, there were plays that were starting to stack up on top of each other. There was a little bit of momentum. You saw JK doing his above the rim stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Yep.
And it seemed like a rhythm was being had.
Yes.
And then that last call on JK kind of sucked the life out of the majority of the team.
Certainly
whereas
looked that way.
Steph tried to gather it all and do one last pulse. Really.
Yeah, and like Steph said, if he makes that last runner, they win the game and it's over.
Right.
But there's been a lot of games like that this year, and it piles up. It adds up, and you don't forget you may not remember every single game, all the details, but you do know that this happens to us a lot, is the thought.
Yeah.
This happens to us a lot this year, and they're barely halfway through the season. It has happened so many times.
Yeah.
And it's like, they got to fight the feeling of saying, this ain't our year. They got to fight that feeling right now because they look at so many things that have happened, and it's hard sometimes to get to the point where you say, you know what? No, we can still overcome this. We can still overcome this. Steph said he's still optimistic. He's still gonna, he's gonna try. He's gonna do his part. And you saw that tonight. But was it enough? It was not.
Now, I know Steph Curry saying if I had hit that runner, won the game. If I'm Clay, oh, don't be so dramatic, veteran. Okay. 14 turnovers leading to 20 points.
Yeah, that's
also contributed.
Yes, it did.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about Brandon Podziemski. Because Brandon Podziemski, especially with the defensive adjustment that they're probably going to have to make with Wiggins being out, he's probably going to have some tough assignments coming up. And this is a rookie that's stepping up.
Yeah.
Another double-double tonight, this time with points and rebounds.
Yep.
You just noted during the break, what did you note about his rebounds?
He had more rebounds than both Kuminga and Draymond Green combined. He had 11 rebounds. Draymond had 6, Kuminga had 4. And so...
Do y'all know how tall this man is? I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. That is grit. That's
what it is.
That's resilience. That's desire.
If everybody played with the intensity and the aggression and the relentlessness of Podziemski, you wouldn't have some of these issues.
Right.
Because, he's out there. You can see it. You can see it. He's never quitting. He's never going to slow down. He may be at times a little too fast, but he's always pushing to do things and getting in the way of things and making things happen. You don't even want to know what this team would be without him.
And this also, I would apply those words to what we're seeing out of the G League players.
Yeah.
When you think about what Lester did tonight, as well as Guy Santos, I think that Lester Quinones showing his ability to go, to press. He's fighting people for rebounds. He's fighting people in the lanes. He's also finding some shots. Now, he's had some air balls. Don't get me wrong. He had them in the G League too, but he's also hit some big-time shots. And he's capable of doing that. He has a wonderful arc on his shot. But I just appreciate his speed. And I think the biggest thing that they've done with Lester Quinones is figure out how to play him as a guard in this mix. Because earlier you saw him playing with Kojo. I know. You saw him playing with Kojo and BP. And he didn't know where he needed to be. He wasn't sure what lane to be in. Tonight, I felt like he was better in that proper point position or playing point or two with BP.
And he's like BP in the way that he also brings a certain energy to the game every time he goes out there. He scored 17 points in 23 minutes. That's impressive.
Incredibly impressive.
Incredibly
impressive.
In 23 minutes, he was the team's second leading scorer. So, he could have used some more of the minutes that maybe Clay got, or some more of the minutes that maybe Guy did okay, but that Guy got. But it was just one of those nights when you look at what BP and what Lester does, and even what Guy did. They brought energy. They brought energy,
exactly
and sometimes this team needs that.
Yep, that's exactly right. Well, the Warriors need that youthful energy as they continue their road trip. We're going to talk about that on the other side of this break because, again, we're taking it one game at a time for these Warriors. Going back to back, losing, missing, they're going to be able to bounce back, hopefully. Don't go anywhere. It's Dubs Talk Live. Okay, sorry. I thought you said something, Flo, and I cut off. I was like, wait, what? What did he say? What did he say? All right, guys. Man, I'm going to go back to the chat.
I'm curious to hear what they're thinking and what they're saying out there because this season gets harder and harder as it goes.
Yeah.
Every little glimpse of encouragement comes with boom, a depression, you know?
Yep. There's some trade talks in the chat. Obviously, trade deadline in 5 days. Talks about Klay and the value. You know, of course, this is the year he wants to play. He wants to prove his value. One, to either be re-signed or at least if he needs to be traded.
It's not happening. You know, I mean, Klay began this year wanting to be an all-star again. He didn't come close. He didn't come close. And he's making $43 million a year. And so if you're, you know, the Warriors, they didn't want to give him the big contract extension because they had questions. And the way he's playing, you see that their questions were valid. And you also know that there aren't many teams out there that are saying, I got to have Klay on my team. You know, and so the Warriors are trying to find a way to use him. You know, sometimes he closes. Tonight he did because Wiggins wasn't out there. He did not close last night. You know, and it wasn't in the closing lineup last night. So, you know, you're just trying to find a way to make Klay be useful on most nights. And some nights he's extremely useful.
Yeah.
You know, but some nights it's like, there's the shots, they're just not coming, and he keeps firing, and it's like, what's happening here?
Yeah, it's been on display, his inability to find his rhythm.
Yeah.
It's not a slump anymore. We're now.
It happens too much.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into the next game, I do want to talk about that TJD dunk. It was pretty. And I know we got the calendar up. I just messed up my producer because I know he wants me to talk about Brooklyn. I can't get over that dunk.
Yeah.
Because to me, that dunk was demonstrative, right? After a game where the bigs were on the Hawks side, Okongwu and Capella were doing whatever they wanted. TJD came out and said, no. I am here.
I'm a big boy too.
I'm a big boy too. I play above the rim too.
Yeah.
And let me dribble up to it. Let me dribble up to this poster on your head. I absolutely love this. And I love it's in transition.
Yes.
Right? This is the thing, again, that Brandon Podziemski does so well, is he pushes while looking for his teammates. TJD does this very well as well. Runs the lanes.
Big man running the floor.
Big man runs the floor. You see him pointing often.
Yeah, yes.
And they don't see him.
Yes.
Brandon Podziemski saw him. 2 steps. Boom.
Yes.
I love that.
All right.
You
What
need
we got
that.
next?
Got Brooklyn next. That's the next
They're playing
game.
decent basketball lately.
Nick Claxton, another big.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, good player.
Okay, y'all.
Ben Simmons is back.
Woo! It's been Dub Talk Live. Zena, Monte, y'all have a wonderful evening. I know we ran late. All righty, folks. Okay, so now, more trade talks. I'm down to trade CP3 and Moody. And
What are you getting in return?
another piece for, and maybe another piece for Mikal Bridges and Nick Claxton. Rohan Tyagi. Now,
Knicks are not going to trade
they're absolutely, that's just too much. That's too,
They're not going to trade Mikal
that's too
Bridges.
integral to their thing.
Yeah,
Like
they're
they
not gonna
need, those are building blocks. Like
Yeah.
Nick Claxton, honestly.
Nice player. Nice
Unbelievable player. Nick
Yes.
Claxton,
Yeah.
Jarrett Allen, those to me
Yeah.
are key fundamental big men
For their teams.
for their teams. They're
Yep.
huge and integral to everything they're doing. Mikal Bridges is on a different level to me.
Yeah.
Mostly because I love that in Phoenix, he played his role. You would have never known he was capable
Of what he's doing now.
of doing. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you were watching Villanova
Yeah,
basketball
yeah,
pretty
I mean,
soon, you
yeah.
know.
Mikal Bridges
But you
is-
just didn't know.
He's one of the better. There's some really great 3-and-D guys in this league. He's one of them. I mean, he can lock you up on one end.
Yes,
and
he
can drain the
can.
3 on the other. So, Mikal Bridges, if you're the Nets, you're like, you want Mikal
Right.
Bridges? No, you ain't, no. You know,
That's when
it-
you pick
are
up the phone, you laugh, and then you hang
Yeah,
up.
are you giving us Steph? You know, no. So no, the trades. You know, the talk of a trade has always got to look at a couple of components. One, the salaries have to be in the same ballpark.
Yep.
And the other team has to be willing to give you something that you like.
Yep.
And so it's not just let's get rid of guys that aren't playing well
Yeah. Yeah.
and get something good back. It doesn't quite work that way. And right now, Klay's salary and his production have driven down his value. So it's not like I say that it's not teams out there going, I got to have Klay Thompson on my team.
Right.
I think he's going into free agency, and yeah, while it's nice and sentimental for the Warriors to want him back, I don't think Clay is going to get $40 million from anybody.
Right. And I'm not going to lie, I won't read all of them out loud, but there are a lot of comments around Clay's disposition and demeanor in the midst of all of this. And now, as a former player, I know it is frustrating when your game is not what you think it can be,
Right.
and what you know it is capable of. And that's exactly what Klay Thompson is dealing with. We've talked about this before. He's facing the mortality of himself and his career.
Yes.
But as comments are mentioning, that energy you give off when you're focusing on yourself, you're actually, you're not trying to bring anyone down.
Right.
It can be the vampire in the room.
Yeah. And it's been discussed before, and Clay's aware of it. And he's and he's been better at times. But when he's having a night like tonight, it's hard to just ignore the fact that you're 4 of 19, and you're still, you are one of the best shooters in league history. But here you are with another night when you just can't buy a bucket.
It's tough. It's real tough. All right. Well, they're going to go on to Brooklyn. That flight is a little bit longer than Memphis to Atlanta. Lots of time to think about.
Yes.
What transpired.
And a whole day tomorrow off.
And a whole day tomorrow off to rest and recuperate.
Yep.
Exactly. All right, folks. I think we all thought we were going to have dinner a little bit sooner.
Overtime.
Shout out to the Warriors going to overtime. We're going to let you go now. Enjoy the rest of your weekends, and we'll be back on Monday. Good night.